let's do Rialto then, because you already have a timestamp. You have some fights in mind that we can look at.
Sweet, yes.
Okay. So, all right, you have a Mercy, you have a Soj, you have a Cass, and for a tank you have Ram. And we're gonna go to 1330. All right. Wait, let me look at your form super quick. Also, when I watch my own reviews, I can usually justify my positioning and decision making from things I've watched, but many of those justifications must be wrong, as my rank is telling another story. Okay, so we're gonna go through some stuff together. Like, I might pause something and say, hey, how do you feel about this play? We can talk about it together and then see if we agree or disagree on whether it was a good play or whether there's a better place to go or something like that.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds great.
All right, so maybe it's this next fight.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it was I was trying to like I really like going super aggressive because
Okay.
sometimes like right up in their face, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, sometimes it makes me waste Suzu and stuff like so. I don't know. What do
Right.
you think? Is it a good idea or is it a throw?
So it depends on how soon you're going to need Suzu, right? Because Suzu is extremely valuable in a team fight, but does nothing between team fights, right? So it's not like there are very few cooldowns in this game that are useful between team fights. Maybe just like speed, basically, or like teleports or whatever. Suzu, if it's really, really, really early and you're poking and you know that the fight's not going to happen, really start ramping up for another like 12 seconds. Yep. Make a play that uses Suzu. Doesn't matter. That means like it's basically you finding someone out of position. That's not the case here, right? They're in their spawn
Yeah, no.
and this fight
Yeah.
is about to happen like right
And I'm gonna
now.
need it
So
almost
you are
immediately.
going to need Suzu here. Usually you are going to need Suzu if you're not usually going to be able to find people so out of position that you still have 12 seconds before the fight starts or,
Yeah.
14 seconds, whatever. So, usually getting Suzu forced before the fight is just bad. Getting
Okay.
TP forced before the fight is okay. Usually it's okay. So if we can kind of optimize when we're on those sort of aggressive angles. I mean, you're looking for a stagger, a lucky headshot. Maybe you headshot someone and someone on your team finishes them off. That's what you're looking for up here. That is worth like a TP, like to trade for a TP. That's a good trade. To trade for a Suzu is not a Suzu and a
I had
TP.
not thought about that either. I'd say yeah, I always just thought it was like burn. If you like waste Suzu, it's as equally as bad. But yeah, and I thought like if it's about to start, then it's really bad. Yeah. Anyway, interesting. Okay.
So Suzu usually just means that you've been on that angle too long, but almost always, unless you are hindered or stunned or something, if you just get out a little bit earlier, you can get out with just TP. So it's just the discipline of knowing when you need to get out and being more disciplined with that. You can get out with just TP and save your Suzu. And that's ideally what we want to do. We don't want to use Suzu and TP because our TP out is going to give us a safe spot where we're not going to need Suzu anymore. We're going to have our other support help us, or we're going to start regenning because we're going to be behind a wall, stuff like that. So,
Right.
all right, let's see how this fight goes.
Yeah, that would be an example where Suzu would be nice.
Right. Right. All right, I'm just watching a little bit.
You're good.
So far it looks like you really like to be up close, right?
Yes.
Are you more comfortable with your mechanics up close on Kiri?
Yes.
Okay.
For my yeah. Well, like if I want to get a kill, it's really hard far away. I can, but unless it's like a sniper. So I
Mm-hmm.
prefer to be like really up in their face. I also do a lot of aim training. So like I'm back. So like I'm much better at like killing up close. I feel a lot more confident.
Okay. I see what you mean. It's just kind of the nature of a projectile hero. It's going to be more
Mm.
reliable, less RNG when you're up close.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the unfortunate part about wanting to be up close as a support hero means that you are often not going to be able to see your team if you prioritize
Mm.
that proximity to the enemy. Right? If I really want to be close to this Zen that I'm shooting or this Sombra that I'm shooting,
Mm.
just like geometrically, I probably am not going to be able to see the rest of my team. Maybe one or two people, but I
True.
won't actually have a good view of the whole battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a limitation of playing up close like that, and those are the types of fights that need to be really, really fast. Like you need to hit every shot or give up fast,
Gotcha.
or don't
Yeah,
put
I don't
yourself in
see
those
that.
situations. So
Gotcha.
let's see. I see you get this. You do that here with. Yeah, I mean you don't have Suzu.
Yeah, I just figured like, well, it's maybe I can get a kill. Maybe we can even it out. You know.
Yeah. So let's see who all is caught in that flux. Because just healing, oh wow, it's really big. It's really big.
Yeah, I didn't even
Okay.
see the tank behind caught.
Yeah, so your tank is being healed by Mercy, which is fine. Here, even though you don't have Suzu, you should heal your Soj and your Bastion
Mm-hmm.
here. I see you're going for a trade, so that's not the worst play here because you do end up getting the kill. But
Another instinct is like if I be super aggressive in their face, they usually look at me. I don't know if that's what I was doing here though. But like if my team is like gonna die, sometimes I just kind of suicide myself and then try to get them to look at me instead of them.
you go for a trade.
Um, or yeah, I just want them to shoot at me because like
I
I
see.
can get away. Yeah. Or like if
Mm,
they're shooting me, they're not shooting my team.
so you can get away if your team is alive, yes. um,
True. Yeah, but if they
and
die.
and if you're aware of your team's position right now,
Mm.
you actually have no one on your team on your screen right now, and you don't actually know any of their positions, which
True.
means that this TP that you TP out in a second, it's actually not a really good TP.
I see.
Right? If
Yeah,
you
I know
had
that.
if you had, let's see, what you reload before this, like you could have, after you got the kill on the Zen, just flick your head, turn real quick, and see where all my teammates are. That way, when you're like, okay, I gotta get out, then you're actually making the best decision here, and
The
you
mercy.
would choose to go to your Mercy, right? Because she's safer. Um, all right, so the Kitsune, you guys were still down one, right? Oh, you
Yeah,
were
we lost
down.
Sojourn.
You lost Sojourn, but your monkey gets res and your Sojourn's on the way back, and you think this is winnable. So you Kitsune. Okay. Now here, instead of playing main with your team, I know
Should I
you want
rotate
to.
left?
I know you want to go somewhere like not main, because I saw earlier you wanted to sort of mark that you wanted to contest the Sombra.
Mm.
And now would be your Mercy's Valking. You can sort of leave your team for a bit now because heal wise, uh, you don't have as much of a responsibility when your Mercy's in Valk.
Mhm.
As long as you keep an eye on them and you react to any sort of really big incoming damage, then you can heal. But now you have a little more freedom to sort of take some space. However,
Gotcha.
instead of walking forward and going like this to take space, where you're exposing yourself to 1, 2, 3 enemies, and
Yeah,
they're
where's
already
front
looking this
line?
direction. This is frontlining,
Yeah.
right? Oh, 4
I
enemies, I
also
guess.
like
What
um
else could we do instead?
so yeah, the problem, okay, so here's another thing, right? I do a lot of flanks, but I feel like my flanks take too long to get in
Mm-hmm.
like a good position
Mm-hmm.
and like people die. But if I don't, I feel like I'm just running main the whole game. So I guess
Mm.
I could go left. The problem is that the Sigma's there. I definitely not gonna win that. I think I wanted to go right and like
Okay.
go farther right to get back to there. Because if I was
Mm-hmm.
gonna go backwards around, it would take too long. So I'm not
I
sure.
see.
Sure.
Well, the amount of time that you wouldn't, well, you're okay. So Velk is over. As you, let's say we want to go into play into this room, right?
Mhm.
Um, as we're walking back, we can heal, do damage, heal, do damage, heal, do damage. We can still heal a little bit even. And then the only time, like once we actually can't heal or do damage anymore, is that we're here and we already can
Mhm.
start doing damage again. So as long as we are just doing what we can as we rotate, right? Because let's
Mhm.
say if the Sojourn's taking damage and we're healing our Sojourn and someone else on the front line needs some help, our Mercy's here. Our Mercy can help them.
True. True.
So
True. True.
your resources might be going to a slightly different place while you're rotating, but as long as you are still minding your team while you're rotating, yes, you said this will be a longer rotation,
Right.
and you don't like it. Oh, this one is just literally a longer rotation,
Mhm.
but your entire team is healthy. If you're ever gonna make a long rotation like this, every single person on your team's full HP. Now's the time to do it.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
you being like one of the squishiest on your team and walking in front of everyone is very inefficient in terms of like the health pools on your team.
Mhm.
That's why tanks aren't 225 HP, right? They have the
Right.
huge health pools because they're supposed to be in front and soak up all this damage. It's just a very inefficient use of resources. You might get your Suzu forced. You might have your monkey might bubble just for you, which he
Mhm.
really doesn't want to do. So you might actually hurt your team more by doing something like this than if you just take literally 1 second of not seeing them to
Okay.
rotate.
So it's better. Okay. Yeah. So do you think the going to the right would be better? I definitely knew I didn't want to be here. I think I was just trying to get
Okay.
away from the team.
I
But
think
like,
either could work. I do think either could work. You know that the Sombra's here, and if you're here, then you're really gonna have to deal with the Sombra first before you can like really actually look at the Life Weaver and the Zen. But I think that's okay because
mhm.
this Sombra also really isn't letting your team walk.
True. Okay.
So if you're contesting the Sombra, you really are doing a favor for your team. Really, I'd like your Soj to be here. Maybe if you're here, your
Mhm.
Soj is gonna come here with you. That would be awesome.
I see, I see, I see.
Or your soldier, someone. But this could work, and also this could work as well. You're not going to be
Mhm.
able to help with the Sombra, but you can look at their backline here,
Right.
or maybe get the Sig to look at you. So I think both could work, and I agree with you that both of those feel better than this.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely I know that's not the play, but yeah, okay. Okay, good
Don't
to know.
be so if you're like, rotating now, like my team's gonna die while I'm moving, that's mid-fight rotations. You you can ask yourself a couple things. Is everyone healthy? In which case
Mhm.
I can take a longer rotation. That's a little bit, higher reward. But if people are actively taking damage, maybe people are like half health, then you should prioritize rotations that you can sort of heal on the go while you're moving and you have LOS of your team the whole time you're making that rotation.
Mhm.
And sometimes you can do that. Some maps you have LOS of your team the whole time you're rotating to an angle, a good angle for the enemy. Sometimes that's impossible. So That's just a couple things to keep in mind. Mid-fight rotations, you'd love to see your team, but you can't always.
Okay, good to know. Yeah.
Obviously, before a fight, when you're setting up, that's not something you have to worry about.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, I like the before the fights. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
before the fights, I'm usually like very aggressively
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. But yeah, mid fights is where I find it like, all right, I guess I'm a DPS at heart. Um, definitely healing is not as does not come as natural to me, but
I think a lot of Kiriko players are. I think a lot of Kiriko players are like that. I would say also, I always make the joke that I'm actually a DPS player, but I got baited by Kiri's 2-tap. Old Kiri, when she could 2-tap everyone. She was a DPS hero. So I got baited, and now she's just like actually like she's a little more balanced support hero now. So I know exactly what you're saying. You just have to, there's a little more finesse with Kiri because you have more responsibilities than a DPS does. So just, yeah, more things to think about. Okay. Oh, we're over here. I love that. Okay. Okay.
I really thought I could get him.
Just a mechanical thing. You're flicking a lot when you don't need to.
Yeah, I go back and forth on this. So yeah, I know I'm not supposed to, but when I do the AD thing, AD strafe instead, I feel like they never go like it's not fast enough. I don't know, maybe I just need to watch. But like the movement of the other character is faster, and I'm just like sitting there trying to catch up to them. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, because it's a projectile. I mean, you're still gonna have to lead your shots. There's nothing wrong with flicking, I think, but they have to be intentional flicks. Each flick needs to be a calculated, I'm flicking to this point because I know exactly how much I want to lead my shot, versus sort of indiscriminate flicking, like as a habit. So just maybe look out for that. That doesn't mean that you should just AD like mirror strafe and sort of use movement aim. I don't mean that necessarily. Just make your flicks intentional.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I also yeah.
I like the idea of that angle.
Okay.
Oh, you got forced out. Oh no. Yep. King Nut 6969. Awesome.
I didn't even realize that till
Awesome
now.
name. Ah. You
Yeah,
used
I got
Suzu
that
here. Oh no. I hope you don't need it soon. All right. You guys went horse. Good care on your Soj. Oh.
Wait, I feel like they wait for it. It's like it's not. That flux was too soon, but it was like every time. It's like immediately after I use it.
I will say that in higher ranks, they absolutely do wait for it.
Yeah, they don't not now, but I think
So like, yeah, there should be this impending or like this feeling of impending doom if you ever use a Suzu when it wasn't like absolutely earned out of you. You're like, oh my god, the queen is gonna ult, the Mei is gonna blizzard, the tracer's gonna pulse, like I'm so screwed. Or the Sig is gonna flux, whatever. So yeah, I think, yeah. I don't think he did the first time either. I think, like you said, this was way too soon. This was coincidental, but
yeah. But still, it's a.
Let's see. Why were you? Oh, you wanted to carry your Soj up here.
Yeah, again, similar with the last thing. I think I remember. I definitely would prefer to run right and like avoid running main because right now I'm also frontlining, but they were taking so much damage. I was like, well,
Right.
using them, they're
Well,
gonna die.
yeah,
Yeah.
this rotation is like you can't see people for a long time. This would be really good setup pre-fight before people are
Mhm.
taking damage. But I would say you can play from here instead.
Okay.
Because you can completely pocket your Soj from here, right? Because you
True.
see she OCs and you want to help her.
Mhm.
This is a place where you are much less likely to get punished.
Mhm.
Because right here you're just out in the open. It's very easy to get Suzu forced, like you did get Suzu forced. You could play
Right.
from here or depending on, I mean, where the fight is right now, this is best.
Mhm.
And then if things push up, you could play here and even start moving through here. This is all really nice for you because you've got lots of cover and there's still a lot of access, all these really big doorways and stuff for healing and doing damage.
Mhm. The,
So
what's it called? Inside rotation.
yes, that this sort of inside lane here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this outside lane sucks, right? Because there's this
Mhm.
whole time you can't do damage or healing at all. Like this kind of
Right.
sucks.
Right.
Um, Of course, that's why Sombras and Tracers like that. Like they love this like sort of enclosed stuff, sort of
Okay.
isolate, and so you could
Yeah,
do
sure.
everything you're doing here
Back there.
better from a safer spot.
Okay.
So that's the sort of so far what I'm seeing a trend is you like taking angles, which is good. You
Mhm.
have the idea. It's just the execution. I think you put yourself in too aggressive of positions to the point where it's not like calculated aggressive. It's like it's just kind of stupid. Like it's
Like
I'm
berserk
getting
mode.
I'm getting things forced that shouldn't be forced, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Whereas like you have the right like you have the right goals and the right idea. You see your Soj OCs and you want to pocket her. You're not doing it from the best possible spot.
Right. Okay.
Um, I saw you mentioned awkward,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
what do you think? Personal, like, obviously that guy's a little interesting, but
I watched, yeah. I just his gameplay wise, right? I back when I started playing Kiriko, also watched his sort of 4-step guide, and I
mm,
also had a habit of playing extremely close and
okay.
dying silly deaths and being on very close angles that I had no business being on. He
Uh-huh.
really likes this proximity, like the highest risk, highest reward angles
Mhm.
that maybe when she had her 2-tap on all 250 or on all heroes, all squishies, then you could maybe get away with it, but she just doesn't have that TTK anymore. You can't really play her like that anymore. And I don't even know if that was the best idea
At
in the
the
first
time, probably.
place, but
Gotcha.
he really likes that proximity, those like shotgun angles.
Uh-huh.
And and I think it's really it's not so great. It is
Mhm.
there are some times when it's okay. But
Mhm.
for the most part, like you just don't have that TTK anymore. It takes you too long to kill people without the
Gotcha.
two
Yeah.
tap. So
The other one, yeah, okay, it's good. I didn't see any other people that were like saying anything different because he's like definitely like the most famous. There's also the other
mhm.
guy, or was it Shanato? He doesn't. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But a similar thing. He's also hyper aggressive too. So I'm like, I guess it's just the way what you're supposed to do.
Um, they
But
also are both very mechanically inclined.
yeah.
And so I have a lot of friends of mine that actually are pretty decently high rank on support. Um, and really just rely a lot on their mechanics. If you have good mechanics and you play like Ana or Kiriko or BAP, you can actually get a really high rank without really knowing what you're doing too much, because
Gotcha.
you just outduel. You have a great kit for dueling.
Hmm.
So, not saying that awkward or Shanato whatever are bad at all. It's just when
Gotcha.
mechanics are your carry, then you're gonna play in a way that let your mechanics carry you. And
Hmm.
for most people, mechanics are not going to be their carry. So they have
Gotcha.
to play in a way that, you know, is in line
Reasonable.
with that. So, I
Slightly
mean, me
more.
personally, mechanics aren't my carry either. So
Mhm.
I don't play like that. But yeah. So
Okay.
I just wanted to bring that up because also this is not uncommon for Kiris or projectile players to want to play up close because it's just more reliable to hit shots up close.
Mhm.
It's just that, is that risk worth that reward?
Mhm.
And as a support hero, when your life is like a flex support,
Very expensive. Yeah.
yours is like probably, you and your horse are probably the most important people on your team to stay alive. Between the two of you,
Mhm.
it's probably tied. It's not going to be worth it. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Oh,
we'll just watch the rest of this fight real quick, then we can kind of call it there on the gameplay. Oh, that was the
yeah.
rest of the fight. So you guys never ended up capping this?
No, it
I
was so
see.
sad. It was so we just it was just we're just here forever. It felt like.
Okay. All right, we got a pick there. Ah, that's tough.
Yeah. I tried a Suzu, but they put up the shield.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
series of
saw that.
unfortunate events.
That's unfortunate. This also, they just have an extreme spawn advantage here.
Yeah.
Like their spawn is right here. Okay. So yeah, it's not uncommon to get stuck here. I will say in terms of like, so this one Kitsune you used earlier when you were down one, actually, Soj, Soldier, and Arisa are all fantastic Kitsune targets. Like they all do really well in Kitsune. It's not like they're like an Ash or something. They actually benefit a lot from Kitsune. So yeah, or like a Widow or a Hanzo, like they're not gonna really benefit from that. So maybe when you Kitsune'd earlier, waiting for your team to come back fully, you guys just kind of chill for a second, stabilize. Once your Soj is back, and then you can re-engage as 5. I think
Gotcha.
that
Yeah,
maybe would have been a better choice there, and you might actually have won that fight. So that was just the one thing I thought about that Kitsune when I saw that is if they have like such an extreme spawn advantage here that like you really do have to be disciplined with your engages. Like you have to take fights that are very, very skewed in your favor, and you need to end the fights fast. You can't let it go on and let them respawn. So
yeah, which was definitely how it was happening.
yeah. So anyways, other than that, looks like we just talked mostly about like positioning. Maybe work on focusing on the same things, looking for angles, contesting enemy DPS, right? But just doing it from a little further away. And it's not going to feel comfortable. Obviously, if you're not practicing it, your mechanics aren't going to feel as strong at mid-range. But the more you do it, the better you'll get at it as well. Right. So if you're only taking shotgun angles, that's going to be your best mechanically because you sort of reinforce that. You get the most practice at it. So maybe practice some more mid-range angles. And it's going to be a little spammier, but it is going to be a lot safer for you.
Okay. Yeah, be a little bit more safe. Gotcha. Well, that's good to know. Like a lot of things. I'm glad. I feel like I learned new things, which is good.
Good.
I feel like I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of content, and it's like it's kind of like it's a bad feeling when it's like, oh man, do I know everything? Is everybody just gonna? Is it the same thing? Like, you know, I like watch the video and they tell you things. It's like okay, and you try to do them and just like,
Oh, well, there is a huge difference between knowing what you need to do and actually doing it in game. There's a huge difference. So like don't feel bad about that either, even if you're like, "Oh, I think I know it all," and then it's so.
Yeah, I mean it's like I'm glad it's like okay, no, I still don't know what I'm doing, which is it's a good feeling to be like, all right.
There's still more to learn, right? Yeah. That is a good. I actually love coming out of. I've had a couple coaching sessions also with Spilo, and
oh really? Yeah.
My first coaching session with him, it like actually blew my mind. He said at some point, yeah, it was great. He said, "You're a quiet support player, and that's the worst insult I could give you. You're doing nothing. It's better to be called a feeder or a troll and go in and go on angles and go try things because right now you're not even trying things. You're not even learning. And you're gonna lose team fights. And like Like, if you're
Dang.
gonna lose team fights and not learn anything, then it's actually just a waste of time. So he like actually roasted me, and
Oh, that's
obviously
brutal.
gave me lots of good constructive
Yeah,
feedback and
yeah,
things to work on and angles. It was all about angles. And then, but after that session, I was like, my eyes had been opened. I was like, oh my
yeah,
God, there's so many more things to learn. Like, so I really do love that feeling after
yeah.
the idea of like,
Nice.
there's still so much more for me to learn. It's a very exciting
Right.
feeling. So I'm
Yeah,
happy
it is a good
for you.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you. It was very fun, very educational. So
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I'm flat and I'm hard stuck again.
Okay. Okay. So,
Mhm,
just focus on those couple things. Let me know how that goes. And then
mhm.
once you're, so like really just focus on those things. And I mean, don't even think about winning games necessarily. Just focus on your angles and the safety of the angles that you're taking. And then if, as you get better at those, the wins will come, the rank will come.